Hi, grade 6. This is your math video for lesson 2-8, page 94, numbers 7 through 16, all of them, and then 21 and 22. Let's take a look at some example problems. Hopefully you'll be able to see these pretty clearly, although there might be a glare issue. Urgh! I hate glare. But anyway, what you gonna do? It's there. It says here the bar graphs below show that the total U.S. national income, non-farming, which graph could be misleading? Explain. Now, I'm going to warn you in advance. Both of these graphs show the exact same information. Exactly the same information. But they're doing it in a slightly different way. So let's start by looking at this first graph. This first graph on the side says income in billions of current dollars, billions of dollars. So 100 billion, 200 billion, 300 billion, 400 billion, 500, 600, and 700 billion. And then they talk about years, 1960, 1970, 1980, 1990, and the year 2000. And when you look at this, it's going up, right? It's going up. So this is about 50 million, maybe 70 billion. This is 170 billion. 300 and maybe 20 billion, and this one is almost 700 billions of dollars, right? Now, if you look at this other graph, remember I told you, they show the exact same information. It's a little bit of a glare issue there. 60, 70, 80, 90, 2000, same years, same information, but look at what they did. 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, and all of a sudden they jump up to 300, and then they jump to 700. Look at how these intervals are not even intervals. They went up by 10, then by 5, then by 5, then by 10, then by 10, then by 260, and then by 400. So is that graph misleading, or is this one misleading? If you said graph B is misleading, I would agree. Now the question is, how do we explain the fact that it's misleading? Well, this over here is called the y-axis, and down here, this is the x-axis. So I'm going to write something like this. The y-axis has very different intervals. And then I'm going to show what those intervals are. I'm going to put 3 dots, and I'm going to go 10, 5, 5, 10, 10, and then it's 260, and then it's 400. And that's my explanation as to why this one's misleading. This one makes it look like all of the numbers are pretty close to each other. If you don't see the numbers off to the left, these bars look very similar. But when you see them like this, it's obvious that 2000 is blowing all these other ones out of the water, so to speak. Okay? So that's the first one. I'm going to raise the graph a little bit here. Hold on, hold on. This says, for exercise 2 through 4, use the table that shows the miles of shoreline for 5 states. For 5 states. So Virginia, Maryland, Washington, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania have this much of shoreline. Okay? Notice Pennsylvania, really small amount, 89, and all the rest are in the 3000s. It says, find the mean, the median, and the mode of the data. Well, you know how I like to find mode first. Mode. Is there a number that appears most often in this set of data? Nope, there is none. So let's go and find the median next. How do we find that? Well, we put the numbers in order from smallest to largest, right? The smallest one is 89. The second smallest is 3026. The third smallest is 3190. The next smallest is 3315. And the last one is 3,375. Okay, so counting to the middle, what's the median? 3190. Okay? Next thing, I got to find the mean. If I'm going to find the mean, I better add up all these numbers. Let's do it right here. We might as well. 5 plus 6 is 11, plus 5 is 16, plus 9 is 25. Carry the 2. 2 plus 1 is 3, plus 9 is 12, 14, 21, and 8 is 29. Carry a 2. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 3, 6, 9, 12. I get 12,995. And we're going to divide that by 5 pieces of data. 5 goes into 12 2 times. It goes into 29 5 times. It goes into 49 9 times. And it goes into 45 9 times. Exactly. Hey, that's cool. Worked out evenly. My mean comes out to 25.99. Okay? Then it says, which measure of central tendency is misleading in describing the miles of shoreline for the states? Which measure of central tendency would be considered to be misleading? And then we need to explain that. Well, as I look at these numbers, I think the mean would be misleading, because the mean is much smaller than 4 of these numbers, isn't it? The median, that's pretty close to all of these numbers here. It's in the middle of the set of data, right? It's right smack in the dab in the middle. So the misleading one, to me, would be the mean. Why? What's my explanation? It's about 500 miles less than 4 of the numbers. It's not right in the middle of the data, is it? Which measure of central tendency most accurately describes the data? Well, I think that we've kind of already said. I think that would be the median. I think the median is the best one for that. Okay? Let you think about that for a second, and we'll move on to the next one shortly. Okay, we're going to move the graph down and take a look at the next piece of paper. Look at example 1. I got to get rid of some writing here. They both show the same kind of data, Solomon's weekly chores. One of them is really slanted upwards, and the other one is slanted upwards, but not as steeply. Which one's misleading? Well, let's look at the left side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. Well, let's look up here. Let's read this. Which graph would best be used to convince his parents he deserves a raise in his allowance? Which one for getting a raise in his allowance? Well, both of these graphs are talking about the amount of hours that he's working at weekly chores, right? And if he's trying to convince his parents to pay him more, it's graph A. Why? Because graph A makes it seem like he's doing a lot more work than graph B, even though they're showing the exact same answer of 8, right? Okay, let's move on by lifting the graph again. For exercises 1 and 2, use the graphs below. It shows a company's profits over a 4-month period. Profits compared to months. Profits compared to months. Which graph would be best to use to convince people to invest in this company? In other words, if this company wants people to give them money to make their business run better, like a bank or something like that, with the promise that they'd pay it back later, which one of these graphs would convince a bank to give them money to improve their business? Well, I think it would be graph B. Why? Well, this one doesn't have any numbers on the side, so you don't even know what these dots mean. I don't think this is a very good graph because it doesn't tell you anything. There's no numbers here. This graph tells you numbers. Their profits went from $10,000 in January to $40,000 in April. That's telling somebody something. Then it says, why might the graph be misleading? What do you think? Well, if you're talking about this graph, I don't think this graph is misleading. If you're talking about this graph, I would say it's definitely misleading because there's no numbers on the y-axis. A has no numbers on the y-axis. Okay? Okay, we're going to stop at this point. Talk to me if you have